Okay, so in the last video, we learned about the else condition. And the else condition is really good for when you have one condition that you want to generate a reaction for, and then you want to have a second outcome that happens for just about everything else. So it's really good for when you have one kind of thing that you want to generate a certain special response for, and then hundreds or even, tens of conditions that you just want a sort of generic response for. And my favorite example of this is to think about a space shooter. So I'm going to start with that example. What we're going to do is create a new file here, a new text document. We're going to call it spaceshooter.java. And I'll drag that into Notepad++, and we'll get started. First thing I want to do, I know I'm going to import the scanner. And create the class. And then the main. So first thing I want to do, create a scanner object. And then I'm going to first define my target. And I'm going to create an integer for that. I'm going to call it target. And that's going to be the next from the keyboard. Or actually next integer. So I'm going to put it at an integer. And let's try system.out print line, and we're going to say enter your target for the user prompt. And so let's think about this like so. We have an enemy that moves around the board or moves to different locations around the board at random. And let's say we have int, and we'll use math.random. And I'm going to set that from somewhere between 1 and 100. Let's do that. And so the reason the else is useful here, because I can say if target, so if the target that I chose is the same location as the enemy, meaning if the gun where I targeted my gun hits the enemy, then I can register that as a hit. So here I could say it's a hit. And now the problem here is that I have 100 other locations that could generate a different type of response. But I only want to generate the same response for all of them, and I don't really feel like writing 100 different if statements. So that's where the else comes in and is super useful, because I can just go else, and that means in all other conditions but the if above. So in any other condition, I'm going to print this. So if I run this, I can say I can set my target at 10. It'll most likely tell me to keep trying every time, because I'm probably don't have enough time to go through and get 100 of these. But we can try again with, like, say maybe 3. We can go again, and I can just start right off the bat at 3. And I can keep going. Let's try 1, 2, and then I finally get a hit. So the hit's there if and when these guys are at the same location. If not, it will tell me to keep trying. So that's a really good example of how the else is super useful, because I can just have one condition that's a special condition if something that's very rare happens, and then an else that will cover everything else.